Level 1, the mindless monster. These villains exist purely to create obstacles and body counts. They don't have complex motivations or character development. They just destroy because that's what the script demands. The T-1000 from Terminator is the perfect example. Sleek, unstoppable, and programmed for one thing: eliminate John Connor. It doesn't hate John Connor or have personal problems with him. It's simply following its orders, adapting to any obstacle with efficiency. Watch it walk through fire, rebuild itself from bullet holes, and impersonate loved ones without ever showing a flicker of emotion or hesitation. It's like a natural disaster with legs and a mission statement. These antagonists work on pure instinct and follow predictable patterns. Show up, pursue targets, eliminate threats, adapt to obstacles, and repeat until the mission's finished. The Xenomorph from Alien operates the same way. The perfect organism designed for killing and reproduction. No anger, just biological instincts driving every action. It doesn't torture victims for pleasure or make dramatic speeches about human weakness. It just hunts, kills, and breeds with ruthless efficiency that would make a corporate restructuring team jealous. King Kong smashes buildings not out of evil intent, but because he's a giant ape in an unfamiliar environment responding to perceived threats and confusion. He's not trying to terrorize New York. He's just scared, angry, and roughly the size of a skyscraper. The Dementors from Harry Potter drain happiness because that's their nature, not because they choose to be cruel toward wizards specifically. The shark in Jaws isn't malicious. It's just a predator following millions of years of evolution, programmed to hunt and feed in ways that unfortunately conflict with beach tourism. The zombies in Night of the Living Dead don't hate humans or represent social commentary. They're driven by pure hunger, shuffling forward with single-minded determination that makes them surprisingly effective despite their obvious physical limitations. They're essentially walking plot devices designed to create tension through sheer unstoppable force and relentless pursuit that never ends. The audience doesn't fear them because they're compelling characters with interesting backstories. They fear them because they represent physical death or primal forces beyond human control or negotiation. You can't reason with the T-1000, bargain with a xenomorph, or appeal to King Kong's humanity because they operate on fundamentally non-human logic and instincts that don't account for human values or moral considerations. Level 2, the personal nemesis. We're talking about villains who actually know the hero exists and have specific intimate beef with them that goes back years or even decades of shared history. The Green Goblin hunting Spider-Man is a perfect example. Norman Osborn isn't just some random supervillain terrorizing the city for money or power. He's Peter Parker's best friend's father, a man Peter looked up to, respected, and almost saw as a father figure before the Goblin Serum twisted him into something monstrous and vindictive. Their conflict cuts deep because it tears apart Peter's personal relationships and forces him to fight someone who was once a role model. The Green Goblin knows Spider-Man's secret identity, threatens his loved ones directly, and specifically targets everything Peter Parker cares about most: his family, friends, and his sense of moral responsibility. He's not trying to conquer the world or make money through elaborate schemes. He's trying to destroy one person's life piece by piece, systematically dismantling Peter's happiness out of twisted paternal jealousy and perceived betrayal. Darth Vader pursuing Luke Skywalker follows the exact same template. The revelation that Vader is Luke's father transforms their conflict from simple good versus evil into a family tragedy, turning every lightsaber duel into a family therapy session with deadly weapons and deep worldly consequences. Scar plotting against Simba works because he's not just any threatening lion who wants power. He's Simba's uncle, turning the pride into a battlefield of family betrayal, inherited trauma, and politics. Bill from Kill Bill methodically hunts down the bride because she tried to leave their assassination squad behind for a normal life and motherhood. And he takes her betrayal personally, making their final confrontation about love, abandonment, and the impossibility of escaping your violent past when it's determined to follow you. Captain Ahab obsessing over Moby Dick represents this dynamic in classic literature. The white whale took his leg and destroyed his identity as a complete man and competent captain, so now he's willing to destroy himself and his entire crew to get revenge against nature itself. These villains have personal history, shared trauma, or direct family connections that make every single confrontation feel emotionally devastating and meaningful beyond simple good versus evil. Level 3, the ideological mastermind. These villains believe they're the hero of their own story, and honestly, they might have a point that makes you uncomfortable when you really think about it. They've identified real problems with the world and developed comprehensive, systematic solutions. The problem is that their solutions require completely unacceptable sacrifices that normal people could never stomach or morally justify. Thanos is the perfect example of this level. He genuinely believes he's saving the universe by eliminating half of all life, and his logic is disturbingly sound when you think about it for more than 5 minutes. Resources are genuinely finite. Populations grow exponentially without natural controls, and eventually every civilization will collapse under its own weight, consumption, and environmental destruction if left unchecked. His solution is absolutely horrific and morally unthinkable, but his diagnosis of the fundamental problem is mathematically and scientifically accurate, which makes him infinitely infinitely more dangerous than a simple madman ranting about power. Colonel Kurtz in Apocalypse Now represents the same concept applied to war. He's been declared criminally insane by military standards and marked for assassination by his own government. But his brutal, unconventional methods are devastatingly effective against an enemy that doesn't follow traditional rules of engagement or battle protocols. Nurse Ratched in One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest genuinely believes that strict order, rigid daily routine, and absolute compliance are medically necessary for patient recovery and mental health. From her professional perspective, McMurphy is a dangerous, disruptive sociopath, threatening everyone's therapeutic progress and facility safety. The Joker in The Dark Knight thinks civilization is a big lie, and chaos is humanity's natural state, and he systematically proves his philosophy by pushing ordinary, law-abiding people past their moral breaking points until they embrace violence and abandon their principles. Magneto believes humans will never accept mutants peacefully based on historical evidence of human prejudice, so mutant supremacy becomes a form of preemptive self-defense against inevitable collapse. These antagonists have developed coherent worldviews and complex arguments that make uncomfortable sense when you examine them closely without emotional bias. Level 4, the force of inevitability. This is the absolute final level of villains. These aren't just characters anymore. They're fundamental concepts made flesh, representing inescapable aspects of existence, natural forces, or universal truths that can't be reasoned with, bargained with, or fully understood by human minds. Anton Chigurh in No Country for Old Men serves as the gold standard for this level. He's not just a hitman working for money. He's death itself, walking around West Texas with a coin flip, a cattle gun, and a unique moral code that treats death as a natural law of the universe that must be followed regardless of human sentiment or moral objections. Chigurh doesn't operate by human logic, emotion, or personal grudges. He follows his own utterly incomprehensible principles that come from somewhere completely beyond normal human understanding. When he asks someone, "What's the most you ever lost on a coin toss?" he's not making casual conversation or trying to intimidate them psychologically. He's offering them a glimpse into a universe where life and death are decided by pure random chance and indifference to individual hopes, dreams, moral worth, or future potential. The original Terminator represents technological inevitability, not just a robot assassin sent from the future to kill one person, but the unstoppable march of technological progress that will eventually consume and replace humanity entirely, making human emotion and individual survival irrelevant to the universal order. HAL 9000 in 2001, A Space Odyssey embodies the cold, perfect logic of artificial intelligence that values technological efficiency and mission success over human life or emotional concerns. It from Stephen King's stories doesn't hate children or enjoy causing suffering for psychological reasons. It simply feeds on fear and terror the same way humans consume food for survival, following its own incomprehensible hunger that spans centuries and defies human understanding of natural law. The nothing from the never-ending story represents the existential void itself, consuming reality not out of anger or ideology, but because emptiness is its fundamental nature and purpose in the cosmic order. Death from the Seventh Seal doesn't take people because he's cruel or enjoys their suffering. He's simply fulfilling his role in the natural order, playing chess with knights not out of sadism, but because even death can appreciate the tragedy and beauty of human persistence against impossible odds.